The machines beeped with steady rhythm in the ICU. Grace Hartley lay unconscious, 7 months pregnant with twins, fighting for her life after a devastating car crash. Her husband Derek stood near the window, phone pressed against his ear, and the very first words that left his mouth were not a prayer. They were a question. How soon can we pull the plug? 4 words that would unravel 30 years of buried secrets. 4 words that would bring together a family torn apart by tragedy. 4 words that would expose a man who had been getting away with murder for decades. Because Grace could hear everything, trapped inside her own body, unable to move, unable to scream, yet fully conscious, fully aware, listening as her husband made plans for her death. And the 2 doctors fighting to save her life had no idea they were about to discover something impossible, something that would change absolutely everything. They were her brothers, twin brothers she had been separated from since she was 4 years old. Brothers who had spent their entire lives searching for her without even knowing she existed. And the man trying to kill Grace, he was the very reason they had been torn apart in the first place. 30 years ago, he destroyed their family to cover up his own crime. 3 children died in that fire. One of them was Grace's twin sister. Now he was trying to finish what he had started. But this time, someone was watching. Someone was recording. Someone was ready to fight back. This is the story of a woman who survived the unsurvivable, of brothers who found their sister across 3 decades of darkness, of a man whose past finally caught up with him, and of justice that looks less like revenge and more like freedom. This is the story of Grace Hartley and how the worst day of her life became the door to everything she had been searching for. Stay with me, because what happens next will remind you that some bonds can never be broken. Not by time, not by distance, not even by death. Blood knows blood, and family always finds a way home. The machines beeped on, rhythmic and mechanical, keeping Grace Hartley alive. Her husband stood at the window, phone against his ear, not calling family, not praying, calling his attorney. How soon can we pull the plug? Derek's voice drifted across the ICU, cold, clinical, like he was discussing a business transaction instead of his wife's life. Lauren Beck froze in the doorway. She had just arrived at the hospital. Her best friend Grace had been in a car accident 4 hours earlier, and Grace's husband was already discussing ending her life. The phone in Derek's hand buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His face softened for just a moment. Then he noticed Lauren watching him. The mask slipped back into place instantly. Concern, grief, the full performance of a devoted, worried husband. Lauren, Derek pocketed his phone. I didn't hear you come in. Clearly. Lauren's voice came out sharper than she intended. What did you just say? I was discussing medical options with our attorney. Grace would want me to be practical. Grace has been unconscious for 4 hours, Derek. 4 hours. And you are already being practical? The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Machines beeped their endless rhythm. Grace lay in the hospital bed between them, 7 months pregnant with twins, tubes and wires connecting her to life. Derek adjusted his tie, an expensive silk tie that probably cost more than Lauren made in a week. His suit was perfectly pressed. His shoes gleamed. He looked like he was heading to a board meeting, not a vigil for his dying wife. The doctors need to know our wishes, Derek said, in case decisions need to be made. What decisions? She just got here. Her brain trauma is severe. The babies are complicating everything. We need to be prepared for difficult choices. Lauren stared at him, really looked at him. She had known Derek for 8 years, ever since he and Grace got married. She had never liked him, but Grace loved him, or said she did, and Lauren had learned to tolerate him for Grace's sake. But now, looking at him, the way he stood, the way he spoke, like Grace was already gone, like he had already moved on. Where were you? Lauren asked. When it happened? Derek's jaw tightened, just for a moment. I was at the office. Grace called you 11 times this morning. You didn't answer. I was in meetings. For 6 hours? Lauren. Derek's voice took on an edge. My wife is dying. I don't need an interrogation from her friend. She's not dying. The doctor said her vitals are stable. Her brain is swelling. The babies are creating additional stress on her system. Every hour that passes increases the risk of permanent damage. Derek moved toward the door. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to make some calls. He left, his expensive shoes clicking on the linoleum floor, growing quieter, then gone. Lauren moved to Grace's bedside. She sat in the chair still warm from Derek and took her best friend's hand. Grace looked peaceful, like she was only sleeping. Her dark hair spread across the white pillow. Her face was relaxed, no trace of the terror she must have felt in those final moments before the truck struck her car. Lauren's phone buzzed. A text from the hospital staff earlier had noted Grace's belongings, her purse, her phone, still in a plastic bag by the bed. Lauren pulled out Grace's phone. 3 missed calls from a number saved as Mom. Grace's aunt, the woman who raised her after her parents died. Grace had always felt guilty about not calling her aunt back. Always meant to, always too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed by the weight of her own life to reach out. The guilt of avoiding someone who loves you. Lauren knew that feeling. Everyone did. She set the phone down and looked at her friend. Really looked at her. Grace had lost weight over the past year, even pregnant. Her face was thinner, dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. A tension in her shoulders, even now. Even unconscious, as if her body had forgotten how to rest. Lauren had noticed. Of course she had noticed. But she had told herself it was just pregnancy stress, just the normal struggles of marriage, just life. Now she wondered what else she had missed. The door opened. 2 doctors entered, young, identical, twin brothers in matching white coats. Are you family? The first one asked. Best friend, Lauren Beck. I'm Dr. Ethan Sullivan. This is my brother, Dr. Mason Sullivan. We're consulting on Mrs. Hartley's case. Grace, Lauren said. Her name is Grace. Ethan nodded. Grace, of course. He moved to the monitors and studied the readouts, his brow furrowed. Mason stood at the foot of the bed, staring at Grace's face, as if trying to remember something, trying to place her somewhere. Have we met before? He asked Lauren. I don't think so. It's just that something about her feels familiar. Ethan glanced at his brother. You say that about everyone. No, I don't. You said it about the patient in 317 yesterday. Turned out you'd never met him. Mason frowned. This is different. Lauren watched them, these twin doctors who looked so young, almost too young to be consulting on life and death decisions. But their movements were confident, professional. They knew what they were doing. What's her prognosis? Lauren asked. Ethan chose his words carefully. The head trauma is significant, but her vitals are strong. She's breathing on her own. That's a good sign. Her husband seems to think she's dying. The twins exchanged a glance. Something passed between them, the way twins do. A whole conversation contained in a single look. Mr. Hartley has been very focused on worst-case scenarios, Ethan said carefully. He asked about withdrawing care, Mason added, within an hour of her arrival. Lauren's stomach dropped. An hour? We told him it was far too early for those discussions, but he's been persistent. He wants her dead. The words hung in the air, stark, ugly, and true. Ethan and Mason did not contradict her. They couldn't, not without lying. We should let you have some time with her, Ethan said. We'll check back in a few hours. They left Lauren alone with Grace again. She pulled Grace's journal from the plastic bag. Grace had always carried a journal, since college. She wrote in it every single night, her thoughts, her feelings, everything she could not say out loud. Lauren opened to the last entry, written 2 days before the accident. The handwriting was shaky, not Grace's usual neat script. I think I'm ready to leave him. The babies deserve better. I deserve better. Why did it take me 8 years to admit I've been living with a stranger? Lauren's hands trembled. She kept reading. I found receipts in his jacket. Hotels, restaurants, flowers I never received. I've known for months, maybe longer. I just didn't want to face it. Didn't want to admit I chose wrong, stayed too long, wasted 8 years of my life on someone who never loved me. The next line was underlined 3 times. Tomorrow, I'm calling the divorce attorney. Tomorrow, I'm done pretending. Lauren checked the date again. Grace had written this 2 days ago. The divorce attorney Grace mentioned. Lauren had already seen 11 calls to a law firm on Grace's phone that morning. The very morning of the accident. Grace had been crying when she got in her car. The accident report said witnesses saw her swerving, distracted, not paying attention, because she had finally worked up the courage to leave Derek, to start over, to choose herself and her babies over a man who had never truly valued her. And now she was here, unconscious, pregnant, helpless, with a husband who wanted her dead. Lauren pulled out her own phone and started making a list. Evidence, timeline, anything that could prove what Derek was planning. Because Grace couldn't protect herself anymore, but Lauren could, and she would. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Grace's chest rose and fell. The babies moved inside her, small flutters visible through the hospital gown. Life continuing, fighting, refusing to surrender. Lauren squeezed Grace's hand. I won't let him win, she whispered. I promise you, I won't let him win. Grace's fingers twitched, barely perceptible, but there. As if somewhere in the darkness of her coma, Grace was fighting too. Down the hall, Derek stood in the parking garage, phone to his ear, speaking low, urgent. Vanessa, he said, his voice different now, warmer, softer. No, she's still unconscious. The doctors say it could be weeks or longer. A pause. He listened. I know, baby, I know. But we need to be patient, just a little longer. Then we can be together, really together. No more hiding. Another pause. The babies complicate things, but my attorney is working on it. Once the life support is removed, once it's over, everything will be simpler. He did not see Lauren standing in the stairwell doorway, recording every word. The hospital operated on its own strange rhythm, day and night blurring together, shift changes, doctor rounds, endless waiting. Grace had been unconscious for 36 hours. Derek arrived at 9 in the morning, exactly 9, like he had a scheduled appointment. He spent 20 minutes at Grace's bedside, checked his phone, made notes, then left. Every day, the same routine. 20 minutes, no more, no less. Lauren had been there for 36 hours straight, sleeping in the chair beside Grace's bed, surviving on vending machine coffee and whatever the nurses brought her. She had watched Derek's routine, timed it. 20 minutes. Always 20 minutes. Just enough to appear concerned, not enough to actually care. On the second day, he arrived with an entourage. His mother, Patricia, swept in like she owned the entire hospital. Designer suit, pearls that probably cost more than Lauren's car. The kind of woman who turns charity work into a competitive sport. Derek, darling, Patricia air-kissed her son's cheeks. How terrible for you. This must be so difficult. Lauren wanted to be sick. Thank you for coming, Mother. Of course, we need to discuss the situation. Privately. Patricia's eyes flicked to Lauren, dismissive, as though she were furniture. I'm staying, Lauren said. This is family business. Grace is my family. Derek placed a hand on his mother's arm. It's fine. Lauren was just leaving. No, I wasn't. Lauren, Derek's voice carried a warning. Grace needs rest. Too many visitors will stress her system. She's unconscious. She doesn't know we're here. The doctor said stimulation should be limited. That's not what Dr. Sullivan told me. Derek's expression flickered. Which Dr. Sullivan? Either of them. They both said familiar voices might help her wake up, that we should talk to her, read to her, keep her engaged. Patricia made an impatient sound. This is absurd, Derek. Handle this. Handle what exactly? Lauren stood, squared her shoulders. Your son's wife is fighting for her life. I'm her best friend. I'm staying. You're being emotional. She's my best friend, and she's lying in that bed. I think I'm entitled to be emotional. You see? Patricia turned to Derek. This is exactly what I mean. Too much drama. You need to control the narrative. Control the narrative? The words settled into Lauren's stomach like ice. What narrative should I control? Patricia ignored her, lowered her voice, but not quite enough. The publicity isn't ideal. We need to get ahead of this. Tragic accident, devoted husband. You did everything you could. Perhaps a statement about how she would want you to move on. She's not dead, Lauren said. Patricia turned, finally acknowledging Lauren directly. Yet. The word hung in the air, cold and calculated. Yet. Lauren's hands curled into fists. Get out. Excuse me? You heard me. Get out. This is Grace's room. You don't get to stand here and discuss her funeral while she's still breathing. How dare you? Mother! Derek's voice cut through, sharp. Perhaps we should continue this conversation elsewhere. Patricia's mouth thinned into a hard line. Fine, but this situation needs to be resolved. Soon. The company can't have this hanging over us indefinitely. They left. Lauren stood alone with Grace again. Her hands were shaking, pure rage flooding through her system. The company can't have this hanging over us. Grace was not a person to them. She was a problem, an inconvenience, something to be resolved. Lauren pulled out Grace's journal again and started from the very beginning this time, reading back through months of entries. The progression was subtle at first, small complaints. Derek working late, Derek missing dinner, Derek distracted. Then bigger things. Derek criticizing her appearance, Derek questioning her decisions, Derek making her feel small. 6 months ago, Grace had written, I apologized to Derek today for breathing too loudly while he was on a call. I apologize for breathing. When did I become this person? 4 months ago. I pretend to be asleep when he comes to bed. I can't remember the last time I wanted him to touch me. I can't remember the last time he wanted to touch me either. We're strangers sharing a house. 3 months ago. The therapist asked if I felt safe at home. I said yes, but I don't think I do. Not physically unsafe, but emotionally. I feel like I'm disappearing. Like if I stopped existing, Derek wouldn't notice for weeks. 2 months ago. I'm pregnant. Twins. I should be happy. I wanted to be happy, but all I feel is trapped. Lauren's vision blurred, tears falling onto the pages. She had known Grace was unhappy. Everyone had known. But reading it, seeing the slow progression, the quiet erasure of her friend's spirit, she should have done something, said something, made Grace leave sooner. The door opened. Ethan and Mason Sullivan entered. They looked tired, like they had been working double shifts. How is she? Mason asked. Same, no change. Ethan checked the monitors and frowned. Her brain activity is showing some interesting patterns. Interesting good or interesting bad? Just interesting. There are moments of increased activity, brief surges, as if she's responding to external stimuli. She can hear us? Maybe, in some capacity. The brain is complex. Coma states vary widely. Mason was staring at Grace again. That same expression from the day before, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Her birthday, he said suddenly. Ethan looked up. What? Her birthday, on her chart, September 15th, 1993. So? That's our birthday. Ethan moved to stand beside his brother and looked at the chart. His expression shifted. That's one hell of a coincidence. Is it, though? Plenty of people share birthdays. Not just the birthday, look at the full name. Grace Elizabeth Sullivan Hartley. Sullivan was her maiden name. Sullivan is a common name. Not that common. Mason pulled out his phone and began typing. Grace Elizabeth Sullivan, born September 15th, 1993. Parents deceased, 1995. Ethan went very still. Our parents died in 1995. I know. Mason, what are you thinking? I'm thinking we need to see our adoption records. Lauren watched this exchange, not quite understanding. What adoption records? The twins looked at her, then at each other, having one of their silent conversations. We were adopted, Ethan said slowly, from St. Catherine's Orphanage. Our parents died when we were 3. The system separated us from our siblings. We never knew what happened to them. Grace was in foster care, Lauren said. Her aunt took her in after her parents died. She never mentioned siblings, though. She wouldn't have remembered, Mason said. She was too young. We all were. Are you saying? I'm saying we need to check. Mason was already moving toward the door. I'm saying this might not be a coincidence. They left. Lauren sat alone with Grace again. A different kind of silence settled over the room, heavy with possibility. Grace had brothers. Maybe. Possibly. Grace, who had always felt alone, who had married Derek in part because she had no family to warn her away, who had stayed because she had no one to run to. What if she hadn't been alone at all? What if her family had been here all along? Lauren leaned forward and took Grace's hand. Grace, if you can hear me, your brothers might be here. Ethan and Mason. They're looking for you. They have been looking for you your whole life. You just need to hold on a little longer. Grace's heart rate increased. Just slightly, just enough to register on the monitor. She had heard. Lauren was certain of it. Grace was still in there, still fighting, still hoping. Down in the hospital basement, a file clerk named Dorothy Hughes pulled dusty boxes from storage. She had worked at this hospital for 40 years, seen thousands of patients come and go. But she remembered the Sullivan children. 3 of them, brought to the ER after their parents' car accident. The little girl had cried for her brothers for months. Dorothy pulled the archived medical records and spread them across her desk. 3 birth certificates, triplets. Ethan James Sullivan, Mason Alexander Sullivan, Grace Elizabeth Sullivan. Born September 15th, 1993. Dorothy reached for the phone. This could not stay quiet. Not when the twin doctors had no idea their sister was lying in the ICU 3 floors above them. The medical records office smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Dorothy Hughes spread the documents across her desk with trembling hands. 40 years. 40 years she had worked at this hospital. She had seen plenty. But this was different. Ethan and Mason Sullivan stood across from her, both pale, both gripping the edge of her desk as if they might collapse without it. You're certain? Ethan's voice came out hoarse. Dorothy nodded and slid the birth certificates across the desk. Same parents, same birthday, same hospital. You 3 were triplets. 3? Mason repeated. There were 3 of us? Your parents died in a car accident when you were 3 years old. The system separated you. It happened too often back then. Still happens too often now. But back then it was worse. 3 small children. No extended family willing to take all 3. So they split you up. Ethan picked up Grace's birth certificate and stared at it. Grace Elizabeth Sullivan. We have a sister named Grace. Had, Dorothy corrected gently. You had a sister named Grace. Now you have a patient named Grace Hartley upstairs in the ICU, fighting for her life. Why didn't she find us? Mason asked. 32 years. Why didn't any of us find each other? Dorothy's expression darkened. That's where it gets complicated. You 2 were sent to St. Catherine's Orphanage. Grace went to a distant aunt. Different counties, different systems. The records should have made it easier to reconnect eventually, but what? St. Catherine's burned down 6 months after you were placed there. The fire started in the records room. It destroyed decades of adoption files, including yours. Mason's jaw tightened. That's not a coincidence. No one could ever prove it was arson, but 3 children died in that fire, and all those records, thousands of families who could never be reunited. It was convenient for someone. Ethan and Mason exchanged a look, both thinking the exact same thing. "We need to see everything," Ethan said. "Every document, every report, everything related to that fire." "I'll get them," Dorothy said. "But Dr. Sullivan, both of you, there's something else you need to know." "What?" "Your sister, Grace. She's been researching divorce attorneys. Her friend Lauren told me. Grace was planning to leave her husband the day of the accident. She had finally worked up the courage. And now she's unconscious," Mason said, "and her husband is trying to withdraw care." "Exactly," Ethan stood. "We need to transfer off her case. Conflict of interest. But we need to get guardianship. Medical power of attorney. Can we do that?" "You can try. Your blood relatives. That carries weight. But her husband is her legal next of kin. It won't be easy." "Nothing about this is easy," Mason said. "But we're not losing her again. We lost her once, lost 32 years. We're not losing whatever time we have left." Dorothy smiled. "Your adoptive mother raised you well. She'd be proud." "She will be," Ethan corrected. "She's not dead, just retired. And she's going to be thrilled to know she has a daughter now, too." They left, moving fast, determined. Dorothy watched them go, then pulled out her phone and called the one person who might be able to help them navigate the legal mess ahead. Detective Sarah Morrison answered on the first ring. "Hughes, it's been a while." "Sarah, I need a favor. Off the books, at least until we know what we're dealing with." "What kind of favor?" "The kind that involves a suspicious fire from 30 years ago, and a man who might be trying to kill his wife." There was a pause. Then Sarah's voice came back, sharp, focused. "I'm listening." Lauren sat in Grace's hospital room, reading aloud from one of Grace's favorite books. A novel about 3 sisters separated by war who found each other again. The irony was not lost on her. "You always loved this one," Lauren said. "You must have read it 100 times. Now I think I know why." Grace's eyelids fluttered, just for a second, then still again. "They're coming, Grace. Your brothers. They found you after all these years. They found you." The heart monitor beeped faster. Grace's fingers twitched. "I know you can hear me. I know you're in there. You just need to hold on. Can you do that? Can you hold on for them?" The door burst open. Derek strode in, his face red, angry. "What did you do?" Lauren stood. "What are you talking about?" "The ethics board. They denied my request to withdraw care. They said Grace's brothers filed an objection." "Grace doesn't have brothers." "Actually, she does. Twin brothers. Doctors at this hospital. And they're not letting you kill her." Derek's expression went cold. Dangerous. "You've been talking to them." "I didn't have to. They figured it out on their own. Birth certificates don't lie, Derek." "This is absurd. Some random doctors can't just claim to be her family." "They're not random. They're her brothers. DNA will prove it. And they have legal standing, blood relatives, which means you can't make unilateral decisions about her care anymore." Derek stepped closer, looming over Lauren, trying to intimidate her. "You're making a mistake." "No, you made the mistake. You thought you could get away with this. You thought no one would question the grieving husband. But I see you, Derek. I see exactly what you are." "And what's that?" "A murderer." The word hung between them, stark, undeniable. Derek's hand shot out and grabbed Lauren's arm, squeezing hard enough to bruise. "Be very careful what you accuse me of." "Let go of me." "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "Actually, I do. St. Catherine's Orphanage. Does that ring a bell?" Derek's grip loosened just slightly, but enough. Lauren pulled her arm free. "That's right. We know about the fire. We know about the records you destroyed. We know everything." "You know nothing. That was 30 years ago. I was cleared." "Cleared doesn't mean innocent, and we both know what you did. You burned down that orphanage. You killed 3 children. You destroyed thousands of lives. And now you're trying to kill your wife. I'm trying to spare my wife a life of suffering. You're trying to inherit her estate and run off with your mistress. Derek's expression shattered. The mask fell completely. What remained was cold, empty, inhuman. Vanessa is none of your business. Everything about you is my business when it comes to Grace. She is my sister in every way that matters, and I will burn your entire life down before I let you hurt her. Try it. I have more money than you will ever see in your lifetime. More lawyers, more connections. You're a nobody. A gallery owner who barely makes rent. You think you can take me on? I don't have to take you on alone. Grace's brothers are doctors, respected, connected. They know people too, and they're not going to let this go. Then I'll deal with them too. The threat was clear, unambiguous. Lauren pulled out her phone. This conversation is being recorded. Everything you just said, the threats, the admission about Vanessa, all of it. Derek lunged for the phone. Lauren stepped back. She hit the nurse call button. 2 nurses rushed in, saw Derek advancing on Lauren, saw Lauren backing away. "Mr. Hartley," one of them said, "you need to leave. This is my wife's room, and this is our patient. Leave now or we call security." Derek straightened his jacket, smoothed his tie, the mask sliding back into place. "Of course, I apologize. Emotions are running high." He left, but the look he gave Lauren promised this was far from over. The nurses waited until he was gone, then turned to Lauren. "Are you okay?" Lauren's hands were shaking. "I'm fine." "You're not fine. Your arm is already bruising." Lauren looked down. Fingerprint-shaped bruises forming on her forearm. Evidence. "Take pictures," Lauren said. "Document everything. I'm filing a police report." She pulled out Grace's journal, the receipts tucked inside, the hotel statements, the bank records showing transferred assets, everything she had gathered over the past 36 hours. Grace couldn't fight for herself, but Lauren could, and she would. Ethan and Mason stood in the hospital administration office, arguing with Dr. Rebecca Matthews, the ethics board chair. "You understand this is highly irregular," Dr. Matthews said. "We understand," Ethan replied, "but irregular doesn't mean impossible. You can't just claim to be someone's family without proof." "We have proof." Mason slid the birth certificates across the desk. "Same parents, same birthday. We are triplets. DNA testing will confirm it." Dr. Matthews studied the documents. Her expression softened. "This is extraordinary. What's extraordinary is that her husband is trying to kill her." "That's a serious accusation." "It's a serious situation," Ethan said. "Look at the timeline. Grace was planning to file for divorce. That morning she contacted attorneys, started gathering financial documents. Then she has a car accident, and within hours her husband is discussing withdrawing care. He claims he's acting in her best interests. He is acting in his own interests. He has a mistress. He's been transferring marital assets. If Grace dies before filing for divorce, he inherits everything." Dr. Matthews leaned back in her chair. "You have evidence of all this?" "We do. Grace's friend Lauren has been documenting everything. Bank statements, hotel receipts, text messages. The mistress, Vanessa Pierce, works at his company. They've been together for 18 months, since before Grace got pregnant." Dr. Matthews was silent for a long moment, processing, evaluating. "I'll grant you temporary medical guardianship," she finally said, "pending DNA confirmation. But understand this is going to get ugly." "We know," Mason said, "but she's our sister. We lost her once. We're not losing her again." Dr. Matthews nodded. "I'll prepare the paperwork. In the meantime, Mr. Hartley is not to make any medical decisions regarding Grace's care. Everything goes through you two now." "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. He's not going to take this well. Men like Derek Hartley are used to getting what they want, used to being in control. Taking that away from him, He'll fight back. Let him, Ethan said. We're not afraid of him. But he should have been afraid, because Derek Hartley had already placed a call to someone who specialized in making problems disappear. And the twin doctors had just become problems. Detective Sarah Morrison sat across from Lauren in the hospital cafeteria. Between them lay Grace's journal, bank statements, hotel receipts, and Lauren's phone showing the recording of Derek's threats. "This is good," Sarah said. "Really good, but it's not enough." "What do you mean, not enough? He threatened me. He admitted to having an affair. The financial records show he's been moving money." All of which points to a divorce, not attempted murder. We need to connect him to the accident or prove he was planning to harm Grace before it happened. Lauren's shoulders slumped. "So we have nothing?" "I didn't say that. I said we need more. And I think I know where to find it." Sarah pulled out a file folder, old, the edges yellowed with age. "St. Catherine's Orphanage burned down 30 years ago. 3 children died. Emily Richardson, age 7, Timothy Brooks, age 5, and Sarah Sullivan, age 4. Lauren's breath caught. Sarah Sullivan? Grace's sister, her twin sister. There were 4 of them originally, 2 sets of twins, Ethan and Mason, Grace and Sarah. But Sarah died in the fire. Oh, God. The fire started in the records room, middle of the night. The official investigation concluded it was electrical, old wiring, a tragic accident. But there were questions, inconsistencies, witnesses who saw someone leaving the building just before the fire started. Derek. We can't prove that, not yet. But Derek was 18 years old at the time. His girlfriend had just gotten pregnant. Her family had connections to St. Catherine's. They were pressuring him to take responsibility, to marry her, or at the very least to ensure the baby was placed through the orphanage, where they could control the situation. So he burned it down. He destroyed the records, made the problem go away. And 3 children died in the process. Lauren felt sick. He killed Grace's sister. He killed a lot of people's futures. Those records, decades of adoption files, thousands of families who could never be reunited, all destroyed, so one selfish 18-year-old could avoid responsibility. "Can you prove any of this?" Sarah's expression was grim. "I'm working on it." The fire inspector who closed the case retired to Florida 2 years later and bought a very nice house. For a civil servant on a pension, I mean very nice. Derek paid him off. Probably, but the inspector is dead now. Heart attack 5 years ago. So we can't ask him. What about other evidence? I'm pulling everything I can find. Witness statements, financial records, phone logs from that period. It's 30 years old. A lot of it is gone. But maybe we can find something. Lauren looked down at Grace's journal, at the handwriting, the desperation in those final entries. She knew, Lauren said quietly. Grace. She knew something was wrong with him. She just couldn't put it into words. Abuse victims often can't. The gaslighting, the manipulation, it rewrites your reality, makes you doubt your own perceptions. I should have helped her leave sooner. You're helping her now. That's what matters. The cafeteria hummed around them, doctors and nurses grabbing quick meals between shifts, families waiting for news about their loved ones. Life continuing, even as Grace fought for hers, 3 floors above. What about the twins? Lauren asked. Ethan and Mason, are they in danger? I think they might be. If Derek is desperate enough to kill Grace, if he knows they're planning to block him, he might try something. Like what? I don't know, but I'm assigning patrol cars to watch them. And I'm going to have a conversation with Derek. Let him know we're watching, see how he reacts. Sarah gathered the documents and stood to leave, then paused. Lauren, be careful. Men like Derek, when they lose control, when they're cornered, that's when they're most dangerous. Don't be alone with him. Don't let him corner you, and keep your phone on you at all times. I will. Sarah left. Lauren sat alone with her cold coffee. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Grace is gone already. You're just prolonging the inevitable. Let her go." Lauren's hands shook. She screenshotted the text, forwarded it to Sarah, then went back upstairs to Grace's room to keep watch. Because someone had to. Someone had to stand between Grace and the man who wanted her dead. Ethan and Mason stood in Grace's room, just stood there, looking at their sister. "I remember her," Mason said quietly. "Not her face, but a feeling. Warmth. Safety. Like someone was always watching out for us." "She was 4 years old," Ethan said. "She couldn't have been watching out for us." "I know, but that's what I remember. That feeling." Ethan moved closer to the bed, looked at Grace's face. Really looked, trying to see the sister they had lost, the family they had never known. "We were supposed to grow up together," he said. "The four of us. We were supposed to have birthday parties and holidays and stupid sibling arguments. And instead we got 32 years of nothing. We can't get those years back." "No, but we can make sure she gets whatever years she has left." Mason nodded, reached out, and took Grace's hand. "Grace, if you can hear us, we're here. Ethan and I. We're your brothers, and we're not going anywhere." Grace's fingers twitched, just barely, but there. "She heard you," Ethan said. "How do you know?" Her heart rate increased. "Look at the monitor." They watched the numbers. Steady, then a small spike, then steady again. "She's in there," Mason said. "She's fighting." The door opened. Lauren entered, saw them holding Grace's hands, and smiled despite everything. "She'd be happy," Lauren said, "to know you're here. She always wanted siblings. Used to tell me about dreams she had. 2 brothers, always together, always protecting each other." "She dreamed about us?" "All the time. She thought they were just fantasies. Her mind creating family because she had none. But they weren't fantasies. They were memories." Mason's eyes burned. "We need to tell her when she wakes up. We need to tell her everything." "When she wakes up," Ethan echoed. "Not if. When." Lauren pulled out her phone and showed them the text from Derek. "He's getting desperate," she said. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Good. Desperate people make mistakes. And we'll be watching when he does." In the hospital parking garage, Derek stood beside his car, phone to his ear, speaking low and urgent. "I need it done tonight, before they can transfer guardianship, before the DNA tests come back, while I still have legal authority." The voice on the other end responded. Derek listened. He nodded. "I don't care how you do it. Make it look like a complication. Patients in the ICU die all the time. No one questions it. Just make it quick." He hung up, started his car, and didn't see the security guard in the next row over. Raymond Gardner, former military, current hospital security, who had heard every single word. Raymond pulled out his phone and dialed hospital security, then Detective Morrison. This was bigger than he could handle alone, but he could make sure the right people knew. Make sure they were ready when Derek made his move. Because Derek Hartley was about to make the biggest mistake of his life. And this time, people were watching. Grace floated in darkness. Not sleep, not death. Something in between. She could hear voices, muffled, distant, like she was underwater and they were calling from the shore. Derek's voice, cold, discussing her like a business transaction. Lauren's voice, warm, worried, reading to her. And 2 new voices, familiar somehow, even though she had never heard them before. "Brothers," they said. "We're your brothers." Grace wanted to wake up, wanted to open her eyes, wanted to see their faces, but her body would not obey. Trapped, paralyzed, locked inside her own mind. She screamed, but no sound came out. She fought, but nothing moved. She was buried alive inside herself, and Derek was coming to pull the plug. She had to wake up. Had to. Her finger twitched, just barely, but she felt it. Proof she was still in control. still fighting. Hold on, she told herself. Just hold on a little longer. Your brothers are here. They'll protect you. Just hold on. Hospital corridor, 3 in the morning. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Everything too bright, too sterile, too cold. Derek turned the corner and froze. Ethan and Mason Sullivan stood outside Grace's room, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. "Mr. Hartley," Ethan said, his voice flat, professional, but with something sharp underneath. "Doctors, it's late. Shouldn't you be off duty?" "We are off duty. We're here as family, Grace's family." Derek's expression flickered, anger quickly masked. "Alleged family. DNA results won't be back for days." "The birth certificates are pretty clear," Mason said. "Same parents, same birthday, same hospital. We're her brothers." "Convenient. 30 years of absence and suddenly you care." "We didn't know she existed. Someone made sure of that." The accusation hung in the air. Derek's jaw tightened. "I have no idea what you're implying." "Don't you?" Ethan stepped forward. "St. Catherine's Orphanage. Does that name mean anything to you?" Derek went very still. "That was a long time ago." "Funny, most people wouldn't remember the name of a random orphanage from 30 years ago, unless they had a reason to remember it. I grew up near there. Everyone knew about the fire. The fire that killed 3 children, including our sister Sarah. Tragic accident. Was it, though?" Mason pulled out his phone and showed Derek a document, the fire investigation report. "Because there are a lot of questions, inconsistencies, a witness who saw someone leaving the building, financial irregularities in the investigation." "What are you accusing me of?" "I'm not accusing. I'm stating facts. You were 18. Your girlfriend was pregnant. Her family had connections to St. Catherine's. They were going to force you to take responsibility. And then the orphanage burned down. Records destroyed. Problem solved." Derek's expression went cold. "Dangerous. You can't prove any of that." "Not yet, but Detective Morrison is very thorough. She's pulling everything: phone records, financial statements, witness interviews. It's amazing what you can find when you really look." "This is harassment. This is protecting our sister from you." Derek laughed, sharp and bitter. "Your sister? You met her yesterday. You don't even know her." "We know enough. We know she was planning to leave you. We know you've been having an affair. We know you've been transferring marital assets. We know you want her dead." "I want her to stop suffering." "She's not suffering. She's fighting. And we're not letting you stop her." Derek looked between them, these 2 identical doctors blocking his path, protecting Grace. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," Derek said softly. "Actually, we do. We've dealt with bullies before, and that's all you are. A bully, used to getting his way, used to people backing down. But we're not backing down." "Then you're fools." "Maybe, but we're fools with medical degrees and family rights, and we're not going anywhere." Derek turned to leave, stopped, and looked back. "You think you've won, but this isn't over, not even close." He walked away, his expensive shoes on the linoleum floor, growing quieter, then gone. Mason let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. "That went well. He threatened us." "I know. We should tell Detective Morrison." "Already texted her. She's on her way." They stood in silence for a moment. "Do you think he'll actually try something?" Mason asked. "Yes, I think he's desperate. And desperate people are dangerous." "Then we don't leave her alone. One of us stays here at all times." "Agreed." The door to Grace's room opened. Lauren emerged, pale and shaking. "Grace's heart rate spiked during your confrontation. She could hear you. She's responding to voices." "That's good," Ethan said. "That means she's still in there." "Or it means she's terrified. Her husband just threatened her brothers, and she's trapped in her body, unable to do a single thing about it." Mason's hands clenched. "We need to get Derek away from her. Permanently. A restraining order, something. I'm working on it, Lauren said. Detective Morrison is building a case, but it takes time. We might not have time. If Derek is planning something, a commotion down the hall cut him off, shouting, running footsteps. They ran toward the sound, turned the corner, and found Raymond Gardner, the security guard, physically restraining a man in a hospital orderly uniform. Not a real orderly, Raymond said. The uniform was wrong. The ID badge was hanging at an odd angle. He was trying to access the ICU. Claimed he had a medication delivery. But I've worked here 20 years. I know every orderly on staff. Never seen this one before. The fake orderly struggled. This is a mistake. You were just caught, Detective Morrison said, stepping out of the elevator. Marcus Cole, we've been looking for you. The fake orderly went still. I want my lawyer. I'm sure you do, especially when you explain why you were trying to access a specific patient's room with a syringe full of, what is that, potassium chloride? That would have stopped her heart instantly. Lauren's hand flew to her mouth. He was going to kill her. He was going to try. Lucky Raymond here is observant. Sarah nodded to the security guard. I heard Mr. Hartley on the phone, Raymond said, in the parking garage. He was talking about making it look like a complication. I put two and two together. Sarah turned to Marcus Cole. Derek Hartley hired you, didn't he? Marcus stayed silent, but his expression said everything. Right, you're under arrest. Attempted murder, conspiracy. Let's go. Two uniformed officers appeared, took Marcus into custody, and led him away. Sarah turned to the twins and Lauren. Grace is safe for now, but Derek is still out there, and he's going to know his plan failed. He'll either run or try something else. We need to get him arrested too, Ethan said. Working on it, but hiring someone isn't the same as doing it yourself. Derek will claim he had no knowledge of Cole's actions, that Cole is lying to save himself. The recording, Lauren said. Raymond's recording from the parking garage. Not admissible in court. One party in the conversation has to consent to being recorded. Derek didn't, but, Sarah smiled, it's enough for a warrant. Enough to search his finances, his phone records, and when we do that, we'll find other things. Men like Derek Hartley always have secrets. How long? Mason asked. 48 hours, maybe less. In the meantime, hospital security is on high alert. No one gets near Grace without proper ID, and I'm stationing an officer outside her door. Thank you, Ethan said. Don't thank me yet. We still need to catch him. Sarah left. Lauren and the twins stood together in the hallway. She's going to wake up to all this chaos, Lauren said. Her brothers, her husband trying to kill her, everything turned upside down. Better chaos than death, Mason said. At least chaos means she's alive. Grace is strong, Ethan added. Stronger than anyone gives her credit for. She survived 32 years without us. She'll survive this. They went back to Grace's room, all three of them. A vigil, a protection, a promise. Grace's monitors beeped steadily. Her chest rose and fell. The babies moved inside her, small, visible kicks. Life fighting for life, refusing to give up. And somewhere in the darkness of her coma, Grace heard them. Her brothers, her friend, promising to keep her safe. She just had to hold on a little longer. Derek sat in his penthouse, expensive scotch in hand, his phone buzzing with calls from Marcus Cole's number, then from unfamiliar numbers, then nothing. He knew. Somehow he knew. Marcus had been caught. The plan had failed. Grace was still alive. Vanessa entered from the bedroom, wearing one of his shirts, looking worried. Derek, what's wrong? We need to leave, tonight. Pack everything you need. We're going. Going where? Somewhere they can't find us. Somewhere without extradition. Extradition? Derek, what's happening? He drained the scotch and poured another. Everything is falling apart, but I have money, offshore accounts. We can start over. New names, new life. What about Grace? Is she going to be okay? Derek looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, saw the doubt creeping in, the realization that maybe she had made a mistake, that maybe the man she had been sleeping with was not who she thought he was. Grace is going to die, Derek said flatly. Eventually, with or without my help. And when she does, I'll inherit everything. But we need to be far away when it happens, so no one can connect it to us. Vanessa backed away. I didn't sign up for this. I thought you were just unhappy, that you wanted a divorce, not murder. Don't be naive. You knew exactly what this was. You've known for 18 months. I knew we were having an affair. I didn't know you were trying to kill your wife. I'm not trying to kill her. I'm just facilitating the inevitable. That's the same thing, Derek. He stood and moved toward her. You're in this now, whether you want to be or not. You've been spending my money, living in my apartment, sleeping in my bed. You're an accessory, and if I go down, you go down with me. I'll testify against you. No, you won't, because I have documentation of everything. Every gift I gave you, every trip we took, every lie you told at work to cover for us. You helped me move assets. You knew about the life insurance policies. You're as guilty as I am. I didn't know. Doesn't matter. The evidence says you did, and I have very good lawyers who will paint you as a gold digger who seduced a married man and helped him plot to murder his pregnant wife. Tears streamed down Vanessa's face. I thought you loved me. Love, Vanessa. Grow up. This was never about love. This was about convenience. You were convenient, available, attractive enough. But love? He laughed. I don't love anyone. Not you, not Grace, not anyone. The words settled into the room like poison. Vanessa grabbed her phone and her purse and started for the door. Derek did not stop her, just watched, calculating. You're not going to the police, he said, because if you do, I'll destroy you. I have enough money to make your life a living hell for years. Do you understand me? Vanessa nodded, crying, terrified. She left, running, taking the stairs rather than waiting for the elevator. Derek poured another drink and looked out the windows at the city spread below him. He had lost. He could feel it. Everything crumbling. But he still had options, still had money, still had ways out. He just needed time. And Grace needed to die soon. Detective Sarah Morrison spread crime scene photos across the conference table. Not from Grace's accident, from the St. Catherine's orphanage fire. Ethan and Mason sat across from her, staring at images from 30 years ago. Charred walls, destroyed records, 3 small body bags. Sarah Sullivan was 4 years old, Sarah said quietly. She died of smoke inhalation. She never made it out of her room. Emily Richardson and Timothy Brooks died the same way. The fire spread too fast. The building was old. No sprinklers. No proper fire exits. Our sister, Mason whispered. We had another sister. 4 of you originally, 2 sets of twins, Ethan and Mason, Grace and Sarah. But Sarah, she didn't make it. Ethan's hands shook. Derek killed her. I can't prove that, not for certain. But the evidence is suggestive. Derek was questioned. He had an alibi. His parents vouched for him, said he was home all night. But what? Sarah pulled out another document. Bank records. Derek's father made a very large payment to the fire inspector 3 months after the case closed. $50,000, which in 1995 was significant money. He bought the investigation, Mason said. More than that, look at this. Sarah spread more documents across the table. Derek's girlfriend at the time, Jessica Armstrong, she was pregnant. Her family had money, influence. They were pressuring Derek to marry her, or at the very least to take financial responsibility for the child. He didn't want to, Ethan said. No, he was 18. He had his whole life planned out. College, business school, taking over his father's real estate empire. A pregnant girlfriend and a baby did not fit into that plan. So he killed 3 children to avoid responsibility. I believe so. I think he knew St. Catherine's was involved. Knew the girlfriend's family would use the orphanage to control him, make sure he paid child support, maybe even force him to be involved in the child's life. So he destroyed the records and made the whole thing go away. What happened to the girlfriend, to Jessica? Miscarriage. 3 months after the fire. Very convenient timing. Mason's face went pale. You think? I think Jessica Armstrong had a lot of accidents in the months following the fire. Falls, car accidents, food poisoning, until finally she lost the baby. Then she moved away, changed her name, disappeared from public record. He killed the baby too. I can't prove that either, but the pattern is there. People who were inconvenient to Derek Hartley had a way of disappearing or dying. Ethan stood and paced, trying to absorb it all. How has he gotten away with this for 30 years? Money, power, connections. And he's smart. He never does it himself. Always has someone else do the dirty work, like Marcus Cole. Cole is going to testify, right? He's going to give up Derek to save himself. He is, but Derek will claim Cole is lying, that Derek never hired him, that Cole is just a criminal looking for a payout. It's Derek's word against Cole's, unless we can find proof of payment, phone records, something concrete. We need to search Derek's accounts, Ethan said. Working on the warrant, should have it by tomorrow. Then we can dig into everything. Bank accounts, phone records, emails, everything. What about Grace? Is she safe now? Sarah's expression was grim. For now. But Derek knows his plan failed. He knows we're investigating. He's going to either run or try something desperate. Desperate how? I don't know. But men like Derek, when they lose control, when they're cornered, that's when they're most dangerous. Patricia Hartley sat in her office at the Women's Hospital Foundation. Designer suit, pearls, everything perfect, everything controlled. Lauren Beck sat across from her, looking decidedly less put together. Rumpled clothes, dark circles under her eyes, but determined. This is highly inappropriate, Patricia said. You can't just barge into my office. I called 3 times. You didn't answer, so yes, I barged. What do you want? Lauren pulled out her phone and played a recording. Patricia's voice, clear and unmistakable. The company can't have this hanging over us indefinitely. We need to resolve the situation soon. Patricia's face went white. Where did you get that? The hospital has cameras, security records. You're not as careful as you think. That recording is out of context. Is it? Simply discussing how your son's dying wife is bad for business? Simply planning her funeral while she's still breathing? Simply helping your son commit murder? I have done no such thing. Didn't you? Because Detective Morrison might disagree. Conspiracy, accessory, you're a lawyer, you know how this works. Patricia stood and moved to the window, looked out at the city, her city, the one where she had built her reputation, her influence, her power, all of it crumbling. What do you want? Patricia asked quietly. I want you to tell the truth, in court, on record, everything you know about Derek's plan, everything he told you. He's my son. He's a murderer, and you're helping him, which makes you complicit. I'll lose everything, my reputation, my foundation, everything I've built. Grace is losing her life. Her children are losing their mother. I think that matters more than your reputation. Patricia was silent for a long moment, wrestling with herself, her son, her conscience, her future. If I testify, she finally said, I need immunity. I need protection from prosecution. I'm not the one who offers that, but I can talk to Detective Morrison. I can tell her you're willing to cooperate. I want it in writing, full immunity, before I say a word. Fine. Patricia turned and looked at Lauren. He wasn't always like this, Derek. When he was young, he was a good boy, bright, ambitious. But then something changed. After the fire, After the orphanage, he became cold, empty, like something inside him died. Maybe his conscience died. Maybe, or maybe he never had one to begin with, and I just didn't want to see it. Lauren stood. Work with Detective Morrison. Tell her everything. It's the only way to make this right. It won't make anything right, but it might stop him from hurting anyone else. Lauren left Patricia alone in her office. The mother who had raised a monster, now facing the decision of whether to save him or stop him. She reached for her phone and called her attorney. Then she called Detective Morrison. Some things mattered more than family. Some things mattered more than loyalty. And sometimes the only way to truly love someone was to let them face the consequences of what they had done. Grace's hospital room, 2 in the morning. Lauren sat in the chair beside the bed, reading aloud from Grace's favorite book. The door opened. Ethan and Mason entered quietly, bringing coffee and sandwiches. "You need to sleep," Ethan said. "I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see Derek. I see him trying to hurt her. He can't get to her now. Hospital security is tight. There's an officer at the door. She's safe. For now. But what about later? What about when she wakes up? What about when she's home with the babies? Will she ever really be safe from him?" Mason sat beside Lauren. "Derek is going to prison. Between Marcus Cole's testimony and Patricia's cooperation and all the evidence we've gathered, he's done. What if he runs?" "He can't. Detective Morrison has alerts on all his accounts. His passport is flagged. If he tries to leave the country, he'll be arrested at the airport." "What if he doesn't try to leave? What if he just disappears, hides, waits?" "Then we wait too, and we protect Grace. All of us. You, me, Ethan, her whole family." Lauren looked at him. "Family? She's going to be so happy when she wakes up and finds out she has you. She's had us all along. We just didn't know how to find each other. Derek made sure of that. He destroyed those records, separated your family, all so he could avoid taking responsibility for a pregnancy 30 years ago. He destroyed a lot more than that," Ethan said. 3 children died in that fire. Thousands of families lost their records, lives ruined, all because one selfish teenager didn't want to face consequences. And now he's doing it again, trying to kill Grace to avoid consequences. But this time, he's not getting away with it. Grace's hand twitched. Her eyes moved beneath her lids, rapid, like she was deep in a dream. "Grace?" Lauren leaned forward. "Can you hear us?" Grace's fingers curled, gripping Lauren's hand, weak but deliberate. "She can hear us," Mason said. "Grace," Ethan said gently, "squeeze Lauren's hand if you can hear me." Grace's fingers tightened just slightly. "Oh my God, she's responding." "Her brain activity is increasing," Ethan said, checking the monitors. "She's emerging from the coma. Should we call a doctor?" "I am a doctor, but yes, call the attending. Grace might be waking up." The room erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses, doctors, equipment, everyone talking at once. And through it all, Grace fought her way toward consciousness, toward light, toward the voices calling her home. Her brothers, her friend, her family. She was not alone anymore. She had never truly been alone. She just had to open her eyes, come back to them. And somewhere in the darkness, she heard them. She felt them. She knew. She was loved. She was safe. She was found. She just had to hold on a little longer. Grace's eyes opened slowly, heavy, like she was lifting the weight of the world with her eyelids. Everything was too bright, too loud, too much. She tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her throat was raw and dry. A face appeared above her, familiar, safe. "Lauren?" The word came out as barely a whisper. Lauren's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Oh, thank God. Grace, you're awake. You're okay." "The babies?" "Fighting, just like their mother. They're okay. You're okay. Grace tried to sit up, couldn't. Her body felt foreign, disconnected, like she was wearing someone else's skin. Don't try to move, another voice said, male, gentle. You've been unconscious for 6 days. Your muscles need time to adjust. Grace turned her head. She saw two identical men in white coats. Doctors. Young. Familiar somehow, even though she had never seen them before. Who? She tried to ask. Lauren took her hand. Grace, there's so much to tell you. These are Dr. Ethan Sullivan and Dr. Mason Sullivan. They've been taking care of you. And they're your brothers. The words did not make sense. Brothers? She did not have brothers, did she? Sullivan, Grace whispered, her voice a little stronger now. That was my name, before. It's our name too, Ethan said, kneeling beside her bed. Grace, we're your brothers, your twin brothers. We were separated when our parents died 32 years ago. We've been looking for you our whole lives. Grace stared at him, then at Mason, trying to understand, trying to remember. Flashes came, brief, fragmented. Two boys, identical, always together, always protecting her, always there. I dreamed about you, she whispered. I thought I made you up. You didn't make us up. We're real. We're here. Tears fell. Grace could not stop them. 32 years of loneliness, a feeling as if she were searching for something she could not name. And here they were, her brothers, her family. Derek, she said suddenly, memory flooding back. Where's Derek? The room went silent. Ethan and Mason exchanged glances. Lauren looked away. What? Grace asked. What happened? What do you remember? Lauren asked carefully. Grace closed her eyes and sorted through the fog. I was driving. I had just called the divorce attorney. I was finally going to do it, finally leave him. Then, the truck, everything spinning, pain, darkness. She opened her eyes. How long have I been out? 6 days. 6 days. And Derek? Where is he? Grace, Ethan said gently, what do you remember from while you were unconscious? I could hear things, pieces, like being underwater. Derek's voice talking about pulling the plug, about complications, about me lingering too long. And a woman, Vanessa. They were planning something. You heard all that? I was screaming inside, trying to move, trying to wake up, but nothing worked. I was trapped in my own body. Mason's hands clenched. That's called locked-in syndrome. You were conscious but unable to respond. Grace, we need to tell you. Derek was trying to remove your life support. The words settled over her. Heavy, inevitable, but not surprising. I know, Grace said. I heard him. He hired someone to inject something into your IV to make it look like a complication. But hospital security caught him. Derek is being investigated for attempted murder, among other things. Grace processed this. 6 days. Derek had tried to kill her, would have killed her if not for security, for her brothers, for Lauren. The babies? She asked again. We need to deliver them soon, Ethan said. The stress on your body. 28 weeks is viable. We have an excellent NICU. They'll be small, but they'll survive. Do it. Get them out. Away from him. Safe. Grace. Do it now, please. I want them safe. Dr. Matthews entered, took one look at Grace and smiled. Mrs. Hartley, welcome back. My brothers told me about Derek, about everything. I want the babies delivered today. We can schedule. Not scheduled. Now. I want them out. I want them safe from him. Dr. Matthews studied her, saw the determination, the fear, the absolute certainty. All right, we'll prep for an emergency C-section. Give me 2 hours to assemble the team. She left. Grace looked at her brothers, then at Lauren. I need you to tell me everything, all of it, from the beginning. And they did. The orphanage fire, Sarah's death, Derek's involvement, the separation, 32 years of missing each other. Grace listened in silence, processing. When they finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "He killed my sister," she finally said. "Our sister, Sarah. We believe so. We can't prove it, but yes, we believe he set that fire. To avoid responsibility for a pregnancy. Yes. And now he tried to kill me for the same reason. To avoid divorce. To inherit my estate. To be with his mistress. Yes." Grace's expression hardened. Not grief, not fear. Something else. Something colder and stronger. "I want to see him." "Grace, no. I want to see him. I want him to see me awake. I want him to know he failed, that I'm still here, that our babies are going to be born, that he destroyed my family, but I found them anyway. I want him to know all of it." Ethan and Mason looked at each other. That twin communication, an entire conversation in a single glance. "We'll be there," Mason said. "Between you and him. He won't get close." "Good, because I have things to say to him, and he is going to listen." 2 hours later, Grace was prepped for surgery, gowned, IV connected, surrounded by medical staff. Ethan and Mason were not operating, conflict of interest, but they stood nearby, observing, protective. Before they wheeled her into the OR, Grace insisted on one thing. Derek was brought up from the lobby, where he had been waiting, trying to look like a concerned husband, trying to hold his mask in place. He entered Grace's room and saw her awake. His face went white for just a second, then composure returned. "Grace, thank God you're awake. I was so worried." "Stop!" Grace's voice cut through his performance. "Just stop." Derek's jaw tightened. "You're confused. The trauma." "I was conscious. I heard everything, every conversation, every plan, every betrayal." "That's impossible." "Locked-in syndrome. I was awake, trapped, screaming inside while you discussed murdering me." Derek looked at the doctors, at Lauren, at the hospital security guard by the door. "She's hallucinating. The medication." "I'm not hallucinating. I heard you talking to Vanessa, talking to your attorney, talking about how long I had to linger, how the babies were complications, how you needed me gone." Derek's mask cracked. "You can't prove any of that." "I don't have to. You hired Marcus Cole. Security caught him. He's testifying against you. Your mother is testifying against you. Vanessa is testifying against you. Everyone is abandoning you, Derek, just like you abandoned me. Every day of our marriage. I loved you. You never loved me. You never loved anyone. You just wanted someone you could control. Someone without family to protect her. Someone alone. You were alone. You were wrong." Grace gestured to Ethan and Mason. "I had brothers. You tried to keep us apart. You destroyed our records. You killed our sister. You thought you had erased them, but they found me anyway. Blood knows blood, Derek, and mine called out to theirs across 32 years. Derek stared at the twins, understanding dawning. "The orphanage. You're from the orphanage." "We're Grace's brothers," Ethan said, "and we're going to make sure she gets everything you tried to take from her." "I'll fight this. I have lawyers, money, connections. I'll tie you up in court for years." "No," Grace said, "you won't, because I have something you don't." "What's that?" "The truth, and people who love me. Real love, not the performance you gave, actual love. From my brothers, from Lauren, from everyone you tried to isolate me from." Derek moved toward the bed. Ethan and Mason stepped between them instantly. "You're making a mistake," Derek said. "All of you. You have no idea what I'm capable of." "Actually," Detective Morrison said, entering the room, "we have a very good idea. Derek Hartley, you're under arrest for solicitation of murder, attempted murder, and fraud. And we're reopening the investigation into the St. Catherine's Orphanage fire." Derek's face went pale. "This is harassment. This is justice. Long overdue." 2 officers appeared, handcuffed Derek, and read him his rights. As they led him away, Derek looked back at Grace one last time. She looked back at him. No fear, no love, nothing. "I almost feel sorry for you," Grace said. "You burned your whole life down for nothing. And the worst part? You did it to yourself." Derek was walked out, his expensive shoes clicking on hospital linoleum, growing quieter, then gone. Grace let out a breath she had not known she was holding, the weight of 8 years lifting. Finally free. "Okay," she said to the surgical team, "let's have these babies." The operating room was cold, sterile, bright. Grace lay on the table, a curtain blocking her view of the procedure, but she could feel movement, pressure, the surgical team working with quiet efficiency. Lauren stood at her head, holding her hand, whispering encouragement. Ethan and Mason watched from the observation gallery, not operating, but present, there for their sister. "First baby," Dr. Matthews announced. "Girl." A cry split the air. Tiny, furious, alive. Grace's tears came instantly. "She okay?" "She's perfect, small but strong. Listen to those lungs." The baby's cries filled the room, indignant at being taken from her warm home. "Second baby, girl." Another cry joined the first, a different pitch, a different tone, but equally strong, equally alive. "Twins," Grace whispered, "both girls, both healthy, both breathing on their own." Grace was stitched up, moved to recovery, the epidural making her drowsy, but she fought to stay awake. She needed to see them, needed to hold them. The NICU team brought them over, swaddled in blankets, pink faces, tiny fists. "You can touch them," the nurse said. "Briefly, then we need to get them to the NICU, monitor them closely. But they're yours, your daughters." Grace reached out and touched each tiny face, memorized them. "Sarah and Hope," she said. "Their names are Sarah and Hope." "Beautiful names," Lauren said. "Sarah for my sister, the one I lost, and Hope, because that's what I lost too, what you all gave back to me." Ethan and Mason entered recovery and saw their nieces for the first time. "They're so small," Mason whispered. "They're perfect," Ethan corrected. The babies were taken to the NICU. Grace was moved to a regular recovery room, her family surrounding her. "What happens now?" Grace asked. "With Derek? With everything?" "Now you heal," Lauren said. "You recover. You get to know your daughters. And you let the legal system handle Derek. He'll fight. He'll make this ugly. Let him. We have evidence, testimony. He's going down." "What about his mother, Patricia?" "She's cooperating, full immunity in exchange for testimony. She's burning every bridge with Derek to save herself." "And Vanessa?" "Same. She's talking. Apparently Derek threatened her, told her if she went to the police, he'd destroy her. So she went to the police out of spite." Grace smiled despite everything. "Hell hath no fury." Exactly. Grace's eyes drifted closed, exhausted, overwhelmed, but safe. For the first time in 8 years, maybe longer, she was safe. 6 days later, Grace stood at the NICU window, watching her daughters sleep. They were stronger now, bigger, breathing without help, eating on their own, thriving. Behind her, Ethan and Mason approached. "How are they doing?" Ethan asked. "The nurses say they'll be able to come home in a few weeks, maybe sooner if they keep gaining weight." "And how are you doing?" Grace turned and looked at her brothers. Really looked at them. "I'm angry," she said honestly. "So angry. At Derek, at the system that separated us, at every adult who could have helped us find each other, but didn't. 32 years. We lost 32 years. "We did," Mason agreed. "And we can't get them back, but we have now. We have whatever time we have left. It's not enough." "No, it's not, but it's what we have." Grace leaned against the window. "I used to dream about siblings when I was little. 2 brothers, always together, always protecting each other. My aunt thought I was making them up, but I wasn't. I was remembering you. We remembered you too, Ethan said. Flashes, feelings, a sister who looked out for us, even though you were only 4 years old. You tried to be brave for us. I failed. Sarah died. We all got separated. I failed everyone. You were 4 years old. You didn't fail. The adults failed. Derek failed. The system failed. But you survived. You fought. You made it through 32 years alone. And now you're here with us. That's not failure. That's strength. How long does healing take? However long it needs to. But you don't have to do it alone anymore. We're here. Lauren's here. You have family now. Real family. And we're not going anywhere. Grace turned back to the window, to her daughters sleeping peacefully. They'll never feel alone, she said. Sarah and Hope. They'll always have each other. And they'll have us, all of us. That's what I'm giving them, what I never had. Family. They're lucky to have you as their mother. I'm lucky to have you as their uncles. They stood together, three people who shared blood and history and trauma, but also hope, also future, also love. The past could not be changed. Sarah was gone. 32 years were lost. Derek had destroyed so much, but he had not destroyed them. They had survived, found each other, built something new from the ashes of what he had burned down. And that was its own kind of justice. Detective Morrison sat across from Derek in the interrogation room. His expensive lawyer sat beside him, but the lawyer looked nervous, like he already knew this was a losing case. Let's start with Marcus Cole, Sarah said. He's given a full statement, says you hired him to kill your wife. Marcus Cole is a known criminal. His word means nothing. Except we have your phone records. 3 calls to Cole's number in the 48 hours before he tried to access Grace's room. We have security footage of you meeting with him in the hospital parking garage. We have audio of you discussing payment. Care to explain that? Derek's lawyer leaned over and whispered something. Derek's jaw tightened. No comment. Fine. Let's talk about St. Catherine's Orphanage. 1995. You were questioned in connection with the fire. Your father paid the fire inspector $50,000. Why? No comment. Your girlfriend, Jessica Armstrong, she was pregnant. Her family was going to force you to take responsibility. Then the orphanage burned. Records destroyed. Problem solved. 3 children died. Convenient. That was 30 years ago. I was cleared. Cleared doesn't mean innocent, and I've tracked down Jessica Armstrong. She's willing to testify about the pressure, about your threats, about the miscarriage that happened right after you pushed her down the stairs. Derek went pale. That's a lie. Is it? Because she has medical records, doctor's notes, documentation of injuries consistent with being pushed. And she's not the only one. I've found 4 other women over the past 30 years, all involved with you, all experienced mysterious accidents, falls, car crashes. 1 died, 2 miscarried, 1 barely survived. This is speculation, circumstantial. Maybe, but it establishes a pattern. It shows you have a history of violence against women, especially pregnant women, which makes your attempt to kill Grace much more believable. Derek's lawyer stood. This interview is over. My client has nothing more to say. That's fine. We have plenty. Patricia Hartley has given a full statement. Vanessa Pierce has given a full statement. Marcus Cole has given a full statement. We have financial records showing you transferring marital assets, life insurance policies you increased, bank accounts you emptied. We have everything, Mr. Hartley. The only question is whether you want to fight this and lose everything in a trial, or plead out and maybe salvage something. Derek stared at her, cold, calculating, trapped. I want to see Grace. Absolutely not. She's my wife. I have a right. You gave up your rights when you tried to kill her. You're not getting anywhere near her, or her daughters, or her family, ever again. Those are my daughters too. Are they? Because paternity tests can be done. And given your affair with Vanessa, given the timeline, I'm not sure you want that door opened. Derek's expression cracked just for a moment. Fear underneath. They're mine. Then you should have treated their mother better, should have valued your family, should have been a decent human being. But you didn't, and now you pay the price. Sarah stood. You're going to prison, Derek. The only question is for how long. I suggest you think very carefully about your next move, because right now you're looking at attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, and if I can prove your involvement in the orphanage fire, 3 counts of murder, you do the math. She left Derek and his lawyer alone in the interrogation room, the walls closing in, the empire crumbling, everything he had built through cruelty and manipulation falling apart. And somewhere 3 floors above him, Grace held her daughters, free from him, safe from him, building a life he could never touch again. Justice does not always look like punishment. Sometimes it looks like freedom. Sometimes it looks like survival. Sometimes it looks like 2 tiny babies named Sarah and Hope. Grace's apartment was small, modest, nothing like the penthouse she had shared with Derek. But it was hers, truly hers. And it was full of baby gear, full of photographs, full of laughter, full of family. Ethan and Mason arrived for Sunday dinner, a tradition now, every week without fail. The girls awake? Mason asked, setting down the groceries. Just went down. You timed it perfectly. We're getting good at this uncle thing. Grace smiled and set the table. Simple plates, mismatched chairs, nothing expensive, nothing perfect, but real, warm, home. Margaret Sullivan arrived next, the twins' adoptive mother. Now Grace's adoptive mother too. I brought pie, Margaret announced, and photos of you 3 as babies. Grace, you need to see these. They gathered around the kitchen table, Margaret spreading old photographs. 3 babies, identical. Before the separation, before the trauma. We look so similar, Grace said, touching the photos. All 3 of us. 4 of you, Margaret corrected gently. Sarah looked just like you. Grace's smile faltered. I wish I remembered her better. I have flashes, but nothing concrete. You were 4 years old. It's natural that memories fade. I named my daughter after her, Sarah Hope Hartley. I want her to know about her aunt, about the sister I lost. She will. We'll make sure both girls know their full family history, all of it, the good and the bad. Lauren arrived with her girlfriend Emma, both carrying wine and flowers. Sorry we're late, traffic was awful. You're not late, you're right on time. They gathered, all of them, around the table, passing dishes, sharing stories, laughing. This was what Grace had always wanted, always needed. Family, connection, belonging. Her phone buzzed, a notification, a news alert. Derek Hartley sentenced to 25 years in prison. The table went quiet, everyone reading the headline. 25 years, Grace said. He'll be 63 when he gets out. He got off easy, Lauren muttered. Maybe, but it's over. Really over. He can't hurt anyone anymore. How do you feel? Ethan asked. Grace took a moment, sorted through the complicated tangle of emotions. Relieved, angry that it took this long, sad for who I was when I married him, grateful for who I am now. All of it, at once. That's normal. I don't want the girls to grow up with this hanging over them. I don't want them defined by what their father did. They won't be. They'll be defined by their mother, by their family, by the people who love them. Grace looked around the table, at her brothers, at Margaret, at Lauren and Emma, at the photos of her parents, at the baby monitors showing her daughters sleeping peacefully. I used to think I was cursed, she said, that everyone I loved left me, my parents, my siblings, even Derek in his own twisted way. But I wasn't cursed, I was just lost. And sometimes being lost is how you find your way home. That's beautiful, Margaret said. You should write that down, For the girls, when they're older. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll write all of it. Our story, how we found each other, how we survived. It's a good story, Mason said. Sad parts, but a good ending. The best stories have both, Grace replied. They ate, talked, laughed, shared memories new and old. And later, after everyone left, Grace stood at the nursery door, watching her daughters sleep. Sarah and Hope. Two tiny miracles. She thought about Derek, about the trial, about everything he had done. And she realized something. She had won. Not because he was in prison, not because of money, not because of revenge. She had won because she was free. Free from his control, free from his manipulation, free from the prison of that marriage, free to be herself, to love her daughters, to build a life with her brothers, to create the family she had always dreamed of. Derek had tried to erase her, to make her disappear, to take everything, but he had failed. She was still here, still standing, still fighting, still thriving. And that was the greatest victory of all. Derek sat in his cell, orange jumpsuit, bare walls, nothing left of his empire. Vanessa had testified against him. Patricia had testified against him. Marcus Cole had testified against him. Even his own lawyer had advised him to plead guilty. Take the deal, 25 years instead of life. He had taken it. What choice did he have? Now he had nothing. No money, no power, no control. Nothing but time. 25 years to think about what he had done, what he had lost, what he had destroyed. He thought about Grace, about her face when she woke up, the strength in her voice, the certainty. She had beaten him. A woman he had thought was weak, controllable. Nothing. She had survived, found her family, built a life without him. And he was here, in a cell, alone. The irony was not lost on him. He had spent his entire life avoiding consequences, manipulating, destroying, taking what he wanted. And in the end, consequences had found him anyway. Some people called it justice. Derek called it losing. But Grace called it freedom. And that made all the difference. 1 year later, Grace's new house. Not big, not fancy, but hers. A small backyard where the girls could play someday. A kitchen with room for family dinners. Bedrooms for everyone. Home. She stood in the nursery watching Sarah and Hope play. 15 months old, walking, babbling, exploring everything. They would never know Derek, not really. He would never hurt them, never control them, never make them feel small. Grace would make sure of that. Grace, Ethan called from downstairs. Mom's here, and Lauren, and half the hospital apparently. Grace smiled, picked up both girls, one on each hip, and carried them downstairs. The house was full. Ethan and Mason, Margaret, Lauren and Emma, colleagues from the hospital, friends Grace had made new and old. A birthday party. For her, 33 years old. The first birthday in years she actually wanted to celebrate. Make a wish, Lauren said, holding a cake with candles lit. Grace closed her eyes, thought about everything. The journey, the pain, the healing. She wished for peace, for health, for her daughters to grow up safe and loved, for her family to stay together, to never lose each other again. She blew out the candles. Everyone cheered. Speech, Mason called out. Oh God, no, I hate speeches. Too bad, you're doing one anyway. Grace laughed, set the girls down, and stood in front of her family. Okay, a year ago I was in a hospital bed, unconscious, pregnant, scared. I thought my life was over, that Derek had won, that I would die alone and forgotten. She paused, gathered herself. But I didn't die. I survived. And I found you. All of you. My brothers, my family, my people. And I learned something. What's that? Ethan asked. That family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the people who show up, who stay, who fight for you when you can't fight for yourself. Blood matters, but choice matters more. And I choose you, all of you, every day, for the rest of my life. Margaret was crying. Lauren was crying. Even the twins looked suspiciously misty. Derek tried to erase me, Grace continued. He tried to make me disappear, to take everything. But he couldn't, because you wouldn't let him. You found me. You saved me. You gave me back my life. She picked up Sarah, then Hope. And these two? They're named for what I lost and what I found. Sarah, for my sister, the one who didn't make it, who deserved to grow up but never got the chance. And Hope, for what I never thought I would have again, but you all gave it back to me. She looked at her brothers. Ethan, Mason. We lost 32 years, and I am so angry about that, so angry at everyone who kept us apart. But we have now. We have every day going forward, and I'm going to make sure we never lose each other again. Never, they said in unison. To family, Grace said, raising a glass. The kind you're born into and the kind you choose, the kind that stays. To family, everyone echoed. They ate, they laughed, they told stories old and new. And later, after everyone left, Grace sat on her porch watching the stars. Ethan and Mason joined her. 3 siblings, finally together. What are you thinking? Mason asked. That Derek failed. He tried to destroy us, separate us, erase us. But we're still here, all 3 of us. We survived everything he did, and we found each other anyway. Blood knows blood, Ethan said. It does, even across 32 years. Even through fire and loss and separation, it found a way. They sat in comfortable silence, just being together. I'm writing it down, Grace said, our story, for the girls, so they know where they came from, who their family is, what we survived. What will you call it? I don't know yet, maybe just the family that stays, because that's what we are, the people who stay, even when it's hard. Even when it hurts, even when the world tries to tear us apart, we stay. I like it, Mason said. Me too, Ethan agreed. Grace smiled, looked up at the stars, thought about Sarah, about their parents, about everyone they had lost. I hope they can see us, she said. Mom and Dad and Sarah. I hope they know we found each other, that we're okay. They know, Mason said. Wherever they are, they know. Grace believed him, because she had to, because hope was all they had sometimes, hope and each other. And really that was enough, more than enough. It was everything. Grace stood in the gallery, her gallery, small, local, showcasing new artists. She had used her settlement from Derek, the money from the divorce, the inheritance from assets that were rightfully hers, and built something beautiful. Sarah and Hope ran through the gallery, 6 years old now, full of energy and questions in life. Mama, Sarah called, when's Uncle Ethan getting here? Soon, baby. He's bringing Aunt Margaret. And Uncle Mason? Him too. The girls were obsessed with their uncles, followed them everywhere, asked them a million questions, loved them with their whole hearts. Grace watched them play. These 2 miracles, these survivors. They would not know the full story yet, not until they were older. But someday Grace would tell them about their father, about the fire, about Sarah's namesake, about how sometimes the worst things that happen to you become the very doors you needed to walk through, about how family is not always perfect, but it is always worth fighting for, about how love is not control, it is freedom. The gallery door opened. Ethan and Mason entered. Margaret just behind them. Uncles! The girls shrieked, running to them. Ethan scooped up Sarah. Mason grabbed Hope. They spun them around, made them laugh. Grace's heart swelled. This was what she had fought for, what she had survived for. Not revenge, not justice, not even peace. Just this. Family, love, connection. The opposite of loneliness was not marriage. It was this. It was choosing each other every day, no matter what. It was staying when it was hard. It was building something new from the ashes of what was burned down. And most of all, it was knowing, deep in your bones, in your blood, in your soul, that you were never alone, that you never had to be alone again, that your family would find you, would fight for you, would love you, no matter what. And that was worth everything. Grace named her daughters Sarah and Hope. Sarah for the sister she lost, Hope for what she found again. And 5 years later, she stands in her own art gallery, watching her daughters play with their uncles, surrounded by the family she thought she would never have. Derek got 25 years in prison, but Grace got the rest of her life, free, loved, whole. That is not revenge. That is justice, real justice, the kind that looks like freedom and second chances and Sunday dinners with the people who chose to stay. If this story touched you, if Grace's journey reminded you of your own strength, or made you think about the families we lose and find and choose, I would love to hear from you in the comments. What part of Grace's story hit you the hardest? Have you ever felt completely alone, only to discover you never were? And if you stayed with Grace through all of this, if you fought alongside her brothers and cheered when Derek finally faced consequences, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It tells me these stories matter to you, that you want more stories about women who survive, who fight back, who win. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is never too late to start over, that family finds you when you need it most, that the door to freedom has been unlocked all along. We just have to be brave enough to walk through it. And subscribe, because I have more stories like this. Stories about ordinary women in impossible situations who discover extraordinary strength. Stories that remind us we are never as alone as we think we are. Grace survived because people showed up for her. Lauren, Ethan, Mason, Detective Morrison, even Patricia in the end. They showed up, they stayed, they fought. You showed up for Grace too. You stayed through this entire story. You listened, you witnessed her survival. Thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than you think. You are loved more than you know. And your family is out there waiting to find you. Take care of yourselves and each other.